can just do her quest in Stalwart. So basically get her in and get rid of her just as quickly. So
I will wait in the place of your strength.
and there you have it, a bargain.
A moment. You are going back to Stalwart, yes? Perhaps you could do me a favor. There is a man in the village named Grinde, the head fisherman.
Yep, I know.
The rest of Stalwart kisses his feet because he fills their stinking plates with speckleback. But I know he's not as virtuous as he seems.
Do you have history?
That self-righteous meddler engineered my eviction from the village. He turned them all against me. Now I want him to feel the scorn of those mush-brained imbeciles.
What exactly did you want me to do?
Humiliate him, of course. Show his neighbors what he truly is, and let him live with the disgrace. He's always been a ripple sponge addict. Just got good at hiding it once his sainted sister died and left him in charge of the fishery.
Well,
But he keeps a stash in the fishery, sneaks in at night when the others have gone home, and emerges sluggish and red-eyed a few hours later. I want you to expose him. Go to the fishery after dark when it's empty, find his ripple sponge, and show it to Renengild. Do not answer me now, but when you return to that festering eyesore and smell the stink of fish that hangs in the air, consider what I've said. Your misgivings collect like grime on a doorstep, but think, if this Grinde is a fraud, does he not deserve to be exposed? But be sure to approach the fishery by night, when it's empty. They will give you no end of trouble if they see you stealing during the day.
yeah, I think I've...
As must the gods themselves. Something else? You're the Watcher, so you know better than anyone, Diverus.
Yeah, Verus.
You must find a sole descendant of one of the dwarves of Durgan's battery. Talk to the villagers, look into their souls, whatever it is you do. When you find such a one, remind the sleeping soul of its old name. Awaken it thus, and it can teach you the Cantech. As would I, but there is little to tell. They never gave their names. But they seem to know more about the battery than the others, which is unusual because they did not seem like typical adventurers. Their hands were smooth and marked with ink, not scars, and they traveled light, unusually so.
Usual indeed. What do you suppose they were looking for?
Val himself could not have said, and I haven't the time to concern myself with the business of strangers.
Okay, constructs I encountered in your work.
Other projects, they are none of your concern.
The villagers don't trust you. Do those constructs have something to do with them? He mutters furiously under his breath, raising his hand to the ceiling.
For years I've been trying to create another like the Devil of Carrick. Yet those post-Enacos in Stalwart destroyed my machinery.
His dripping skin trembles in his rage.
Now, I can only create these broken, mindless things. The Devil remains my most perfect creation.
Wait, where have you found the souls to create? Yeah.
Smugglers, slavers, fugitives, the kind of riffraff that pass this way. Rarely missed, and good work to keep my little devil busy.
And why do you need more?
I can't present the Devil of Carrick to the academies, can I? A mad woman and a murderer? No. I need to bring a success to the Republics. Something else? Quay.
Good thing I'm freshly greased.
Likewise. Well, greased. Well, I like this already. Right, I've got to see if I can capture these things and bobs, because generally it's like... What tree? Get out of here. Oh. Stealing your stuff, mate. Hey, get out of here. What are you doing? Stealing your stuff. Really?
Village was a touch livelier when I saw it last. Ain't saying much though.
Head swirls as she looks around. Do you remember of Stalwart?
Bitter cold and a persistent odor of fish. And that were just the people.
And why do you want to come back anyway? Kill everyone.
Anything's better than Galvino's workshop. You ain't heard the old buzzard sing.
Turns away again.
Anyway, what about you? We seen lots coming through, trying to crack the battery, but no watchers.
Yeah, there was another group that passed through before me. I need to know what they were after.
Ah, looking for someone. That's a familiar yarn.
She nods slowly, rocking her head on broad, steady shoulders.
But don't let me keep you from the sights and sounds of Stalwart. They're easy to miss.
She rests her hands on her hips and turns to look around. Let's go somewhere else. So, Gavino said you murdered several people before they transferred you.
Effigy's eyes, that man loved to talk.
Oh yeah, it does. Tell me why you killed these people.
Won't make the deed seem any kinder.
Okay. I could go, I need to understand this. I would rather hear it from you. A soft hissing noise comes from the bronze golem. You recognize it as a sigh.
Mayhap you've heard of Coldmorn. Was a quiet, forgettable patch of the woods. Till a pack of rabid clodhoppers set it afire.
Fingers of one hand twitch and clip against one another in a pair of sudden spastic motions.
That was the start of the purges. Dear Woodens killing their own.
What exactly happened? A sudden burst of heat flares from her seams as her essence surges and boils.
A farmer on the other side of the mountains woke up one day with his head all aflame and took it for the gibbering speech of his god.
Yep.
And so did a few thousand of his countrymen. So when he tired of Vorlus fields and marched west, a horde of armed Hicks followed.
So you're talking about the wedding of Syn Cole. Yep.
Bunch of fool nonsense is what I'm talking about. But others have called it the same.
I agree with you on that one.
If you know that much, then you've heard of Coldmorn. Ours was the village that let a few thousand of Widewind's troops pass through.
You were from Coldmorn? When I heard what happened out there after the war, I couldn't believe my ears.
Fine line between couldn't and wouldn't.
I'll go rational.
Maybe not. But the Raid Sarens had us clean beat in numbers. Even bumpkins like us figured that. Just look at Mercy Vale. They fought back. And now there ain't one stone standing atop another in the whole village.
You sweep one bronze palm across another, metal screeching.
Besides, we asked the Duke for help. Told him Widewind's troops was coming through the mountains. Seems he had better uses for his soldiers.
Crosses her arms over her plated chest.
So we let Widewind soldiers pass. Left him for the Duke to wrangle on his own terms.
Hear a soft clank as she flicks her wrist. So Coldmorn was purged in retaliation?
Was after the Godhammer made a fine grit out of Widewind, when Deerwoodens were running on rage and looking for something to burn.
You catch glimmers and glints at her seams as razor-thin wires pull tight within her body.
They came at dark. Hundreds of folk. Every one of them mourning someone lost in the war.
Cries chuckle ticks in her throat.
Must have decided it was our duty to escort their dead back to the wheel. They didn't light their torches till they had us surrounded. Time we saw 'em, there was a ring of fire closing around us.
A ring of fire. She pauses and the mechanism in the back of her skull clicks dully.
I woke. Ran to the window. Whole village were a maze of flames. Couldn't see nothing for the smoke. And the screams.
The thumb spasms to a strange rhythmic beat.
Most ran for the streets. Got caught by the mob. Others hid, let their houses burn down around them.
Oh, it's terrible.
You're the only person in the Deerwood who thinks so. Me, I'm surprised the Duke didn't make our massacre a festival day.
Well, that can still happen. Don't you worry about that. So what does that have to do with your crimes?
Hunting down the men and women what took part. Thought that much was clear.
You could have hoped to get all of them.
Well, we just gotta do our best with what time the gods give us, don't we?
She barks with jangling laughter. What exactly did you hope to accomplish?
It were a mob that destroyed our village. But it was just one man that burned my family's house. Kept hoping I'd get to him as I was working my way through the rest of those maggots. No matter now, I suppose.
Eye rattles out of her bronze skull, but her essence wipes and twitches, as restless as a cat's tail. I think I could do this in order, I take it.
Only kind I have with someone like him. Or me.
You resent him?
No other way to feel about the man who flayed my living soul.
That's certainly true. Yes, metal squeal as she shifts her folded arms. How long have you known the two of each other?
Around about 13 years. Too long, you ask me.
He claimed he made you.
He'd spread butter on bread and claim he made something. Never been accused of modesty, that man.
He roses, her eyes rolled widely.
He managed to stuff my soul into this heap of bronze, true enough. Maybe that makes him a genius. Also makes him a son of a bitch.
She drums her fingers along one scratched bicep. Do you ever consider murdering him?
Every day. Just kept putting it off. It's not like either of us was going anywhere.
What exactly do you do for him? She regards you for several seconds. She shrugs.
Looked after his tools, cleaned the workshop, swung the sledgehammer. Oh, and snatched up travelers for his soul tinkering.
Yes. And those other golems, you mean?
But don't you worry. They were all bad folk.
Fine by me. Thanks for telling me.
Just so you know, you got a real professional working for you.
Okay, let's talk about something else.
Yeah, I had enough of him too.
Why do you want to come with me?
Stalwart's great this time of year. Beareth
Someone's
spells and
here,
moon for a
but
good
she
5
wants to
days,
kill her.
And the mountain squall actually blows the fish stench away from town.
She turns away, clacking the fingers with one hand against her palm.
Better than staying at Galvino's anyway.
Malif arches an eyebrow and leans close. I've lived with secrets long enough to know when someone's hiding something. I've got the feeling you're not welcome at Stalwart.
I got a reputation. People in these little villages ain't the most open-minded.
Did you murder?
Not yet.
Right, I suppose to believe that you came all this way to Stalwart 13 years for the scenery. Yeah, something's up here.
Believe what you want. I killed a lot of folk, but none of them was in Stalwart.
Okay.
Just because I made a medal don't mean I got any special fondness for smiths and forges.
She flicks the bronze of her forearm, producing a definite ring. Do you know anything about it?
No more than what Galvino already told you.
Any thoughts on which villagers I should check?
For fancy dwarven poetry? None of them ever struck me as especially literate. So whichever you can stand to get close to. And that's on you. I lost my sense of smell 13 years ago.
Do you remember any of the other expeditions that came to Galvino?
Nothing specific. Everyone looks about the same when they got their fingers up their noses.
Pauses thoughtfully. Then, her head snaps forward in a tiny, quick moment of realization.
Only the last group, one before you. There was something different about them.
Three of her fingers clench and spasm.
Couldn't put my finger on it, but they was dangerous. Almost felt the hair on the back of my neck.
Runs her hand along the smooth, segmenting bronze of her neck.
Ain't felt that way about anyone else walking through Galvino's door, that's for sure. Murder, tracking, and the best materials for kindling. Those are more my area of expertise.
Okay, what was your life like before the Saints' War?
There weren't much to say about it. By my reckoning, that means it was pretty good. Ma was a trapper, taught me to set snares and dress game.
Nice.
Dad was a tinker. I never had his patience, but it were fun to watch him work. My brothers and sister, they was good folk too. Part of me's glad they ain't here to see me now.
Face is blank as ever, but her essence ebbs and riffles. She turns away. The one that got away. Yeah, definitely something up here. Okay. I can speak to him and get these quests. Messer of the Sisterhood of the Stock Skull is dead. Kinda ironic, isn't it? She went around killing people for Baraf, and at the end, that's, what? Never mind. Let's just take the bounty. I heard some new reports of dangerous folk about. Perhaps you're interested. Sure. That'll be the Disciples of the True Flame and the Outtro Hunting Lodge. Those others you handled are lambs by comparison. Tell me about the Disciples of the Flame. I don't know what to make of this one, but word is it's a group of dragging cultists. Right, I know it sounds bizarre. I didn't believe it myself until I heard they torched an outpost north of Maiden Falls. We're clearing a nest of worms, they said. Last I heard, they made camp near Longwatch Falls. They shouldn't be hard to spot. So, what of the old hunting lodge? Agents with too much time and money, they travel around hunting monsters for sport. But they leave a mess of wrecked property and dead bodies, in their wake. Being charged with murder and general mischief in Divines Bay, New Humere, and a dozen other towns in between. Someone saw them hunting in Wrestlewood. Hey, there we go. I knew we'd get that leveled soon enough. Took a while, but we got there. Sagani is Harlem Storm. Yep, because she has that dagger as well. Dagger. Oh. You reach into the barrel and find a bracelet. A thick aura of incense clings to it, fresh with memory. You feel yourself drawn into it. In the memory, you stride into the fishery. The floors are swept clean, but the wood is still splotched with snow welt and fish guts. A man hunkers in the corner, his head nodding forward as if in sleep. He looks up drowsily as you approach. It's Grenade. His face is youthful but sallow, and his hair hangs in stringy locks. You feel a pang of anger and pity at your brother's debauchery. Adra. His voice is little more than a croak.
It's past midnight.
Your throat feels tight. Grinda wipes his nose, then examines the mingled blood and powder on the back of his hand. He shrugs. His fingers clench around coarse, thick fabric. Your father's best wool cloak, tucked under your arm.
Go! To raid Ceres, or Defiance Bay, or fucking Air Glonfoth, I don't care!
Hurl it and then tricked Hundle on the floor. He picks up the cloak and looks at you with the same sort of dull wonder. He wipes his nose on the linen. A sudden rush of fury leaves your limbs weak and raw.
I'll tell them. Mayor Sina healed. The neighbors, everyone.
You force the words through your teeth.
About what?
He mumbles, churning his words from a morass of snot and saliva.
The stealing. You think I haven't noticed the money missing from the fishery coffers? Or heard Tana talk about losing a golden duke?
You whisper, afraid even now that someone will overhear you, and the words scorch your throat.
You can't be found when there's work to do, but every time those merchant wagons roll into town, you've got coin enough for a few bags of ripple sponge.
No, it's not.
He rubs his red-rimmed eyes. You're grown, worn, and blurry. Your own grown, worn, and blurry.
Stalwart tolerates your sponge habit, but they won't abide your thieving.
It's your bracelet, a gift from Mother, plucking at the beads.
You
He
won't.
rises steadily on his feet. Then you would have thought, ooh.
I will.
Well, here we go. Someone's dying. I wouldn't have shamed mother and father while they were living, but I won't let this keep up. Your anger swallows at last of your pity. Anger at him for putting you in this position, for doubting your resolve, for failing to see. You're close enough to smell his stale, sour breath when he pushes you. You fall, watching his widening eyes and the ceiling spinning into your vision. Isn't it just like him, grilled with the foul tantrums, never thinking of anybody but himself? And now you're going to be nursing a headache for a week. Just goes to show you can't help some people, but you remember him too. Your baby brother running through the snow, slipping, falling on ice, and you're slipping, falling. And there's a table behind you, but it shouldn't. The memory ends abruptly, jolting you back into present with your heart hammering and your palms sweating. Okay. Hi there. The fishery door creaks open and in walks Gideon, staring at you and the bracelet in surprise and outrage, his face drains of colour.
You take shelter in our village and then ransack it like a common thief? You'd better explain yourself.
His voice shakes, as do his wide, squared shoulders. Gafino told me you were a ripple-spun addict. Seems like you're much more than that.
Any who put stock in the ravings of that bitter old fool deserve all the trouble they get.
He raised his voice, half turning to the guard with him. You killed your sister, Ardra, right here in this room. He opens his mouth to reply, but the words catch in his throat. The guard next to him stares at the bracelet, recognition turning to horror.
Worth coming back for this alone.
It was an accident. I was a failure and a wretch then. But I never would have killed anyone. Least of all my own kin.
He turns to gaze down, offering his apology to his own clenched fist. I'm going to listen.
I gave her body to the lake, but I kept her bracelet to remember the cost of my own weakness.
He loosens his hands and stares at the emptiness in his leathery palms.
I ain't asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve any. My penance is my work on behalf of the village, and they need it truly.
Yep, I heard that one before.
You've seen the shape this place is in. Have mercy on Stalwart, if not on me. Let me do the work Arda would have done. That's my debt to Stalwart, and the only fitting way to honor my sister.
That's not for you to decide. You owe it to Ardra and to Stalwart to tell the truth about her death.
Kept thinking I could get by this way, but I guess you're right. It's time they knew the truth about me.
Turns to leave, looking back at the fishery one last time. No fighting?
You look like you've been in the wilds. You see my wagon out there?
I found your goods.
You've saved my hide. I can't thank you enough, but I hope you'll take this.
Fair enough, I'll take my reward then.
Here, as promised.
Battered ship.
Thanks again. With a little luck, I'll trade these blizzards in for a sea breeze soon enough.
Something I can do for you? Halfrick's got me straightening the rooms, but I'll help you if I can.
Eat her soul. Feel for Owynna's essence and almost instantly find yourself wrapped in darkness. It takes you a moment to realise that you've plunged into a very old memory. As your eyes adjust to the torchlight, you find yourself standing in a gloomy tunnel that instantly recognises as part of Dugan's battery. A handful of figures in patchy cloaks and hoods, dwarves like you, hunch over a minecart. They're loading it with cloth wrapped bundles for which to see the occasional flash of metal, the edge of a blade, or the burnished glow of plate. The other dwarfs scurry with a curious mixture of haste and caution. They stack the bundles in a dim and muted clangs and thumps following the echoes with the ruckus to the tunnel with nervous eyes. Pay attention.
Pay attention. Sooner we get this done, sooner we can go.
Your voice is a dry whisper, and your nerves tingle with energy. You feel the same apprehension that the others do, but unlike them, you relish it. Still, you look over your shoulder just in case.
We're hurrying, Captain Gregor. Honest.
As you turn back, the others have redoubled their efforts, and you feel a pleasurable twist in your gut as they fill the cart. Being captain of the guard doesn't pay much, but it does allow you to visit the armory without raising eyebrows, and with Coinmaster Sultan selling off half of the battery's arsenal, who's going to notice a few more missing pieces? Besides, you've got a buyer lined up, as long as you can move those goods out of the battery before someone squeals. As you surface from memory, you realise that an awakening will be permanent wherever. There may be others in town who could awaken instead. You look up to find Eora staring at you.
Sir? Excuse me, sir. You all right?
Her head is crooked, cocked, and her brow is furrowed.
You got the look of someone with his teeth around a secret.
Cold fingers are locked around your arm. Her black eyes search you.
Glad I'm not the only one who knows not to trust your kind, Watcher. You do well not to trust hers.
Awaken, Gregor, and remember your theft of the arm.
Didn't think there was anything more than lice and hoarfrost to these folk, but you had a look back there. What do you find when you're rooting around like that?
Ha! Ha ha! Bottom one. First tell me the real reason you wanted to follow me to Stalwart.
Mayhap I'm looking for someone. Woodcutter, by the name of Harmka.
It doesn't have anything to do with Coldborn, does it?
It sure does.
Yeah. Her fingers tightening her fist, the metal squealing and rattling.
He was one of them. The mob that destroyed Cold Morn. I tracked him to Stalwart years ago, but got caught before I could finish my business.
Dark, intrinsic whirls appear and fade on her chest plate. Heat ripples from her metal carapace. Hey, you want me to help you murder someone?
Oh, don't go all soft on me. He's had it coming.
He's had it coming. Okay. You've twisted my arm. Twist my arm.
This man, Harmka. I saw him outside my house the night it burned, staring into the flames the way I seen you stare into souls.
Her fist clenched and loosened into a series of rapid, random movements.
I knew it were a fool's errand trying to hunt down every man and woman that carried a torch into Cold Morn, but
She twists her head from side to side and holds up her hand, a delicate engraved palm, empty but grasping at something.
if I knew I got the one responsible for my kin and my hearth, I could rest easy.
How can you be sure about this harmless fellow?
I took a good long look that night. Ours was a little place with a yellow door right on the edge of town. He was there.
He nods slowly.
Besides, I asked around when I first got to Stalwart. Townsfolk said that all the woodcutters in town took part in the purge. Point of pride for them.
A plume of heat rises from a seam in her skull. What's to do with me?
I told you he was part of the mob. I spotted him watching my house when it burned. But when we find him, I want to know if he's the one responsible for my home, my parents, and my brothers and sister.
One of her thumbs rub absently at a scratch on her hand.
I never thought I'd have the chance to know for sure. But you could look into his soul and find out. You being a watcher and all.
Finding out might be getting your hopes up. How would you feel about a solid hunch instead? I'll do what I can.
Mighty fine of you. Mighty fine indeed.
She nods again, her head bobbing along to a drowsy cadence.
Don't know where he dallies these days, but someone in Stalwart could tell us. People from little villages, they always know.
Find a hermit.
Back to warm your hands, eh? What can I do for you?
A man named Hermit.
The woodcutter? Sure do.
Head west from the village, then go north. If you see the frozen stream, you've gone too far.
West and north.
Usually works a stand of trees out in the russet wood, though he steps out from time to time.
Well, what are we waiting for?
What are we waiting for?
We are not really going to do this, are we? Tell me we're not doing this.
Oh, we're doing it. We're doing it. I think we have to. Up to her.
I hope you've had some luck. And do take care with that device. It has a few rather delicate components.
I didn't find any ore deposit, but I did find this.
What? So it works? What a day! But why these gems? I didn't think the device would be able to pick up inert Audra. Fascinating.
Fascinating indeed.
I have to study this further. But all the same, it worked! At last! A breakthrough! With that Audra to work from, I can refine the enchantments. We'll be digging up iron, gold, Audra, all of it.
Happy to help.
This is going to change everything. Oh, and I won't leave you empty-handed, of course. Here, I had this set aside for supplies, but I don't think I'll be staying in Stalwart much longer. I won't forget all you've done for me. They'll hear about this back home, I promise you. Who knows? Perhaps they'll name the next battery after you.
Maybe.
Halfrick's got me straightening the room. Who? I don't...
Her face goes slack and she looks for a second as she's falling asleep, but her eyelids flutter, and after several seconds they open to slits. Harold raises his hand to his mouth, his face frozen in horror.
Thief? I'm the captain of the guard. Best be careful where you sling an accusation like that.
Show some remorse. You've abused your position and trust of your people.
I performed my duties as captain. And if the honored coinmaster Zoltan can sell Durgan steel, why shouldn't I? Say, you looking for a deal? Because I can make deals.
Feeling's close enough that you feel rather than hear her words. That's cool. I awakened you. Seems you owe me now. Look around. You're in no position to make demands.
I see.
Her expression flickers, but she otherwise hides her surprise.
You have me at a loss. And yet, this is not a loss entirely.
She looks herself over, holding out her arms and feeling the fabric of her clothing. I need to reach Durin's battery.
Hammers of Durgan, ring loud. May the anvil's deep music resound. Walls of the battery safeguard our works from marauder and wilder alike. Abidun's faithful travail by the forge, and the fires that brighten the ore.
Right in the ore.
If anyone asks, you didn't hear it from me. Got that? Now.
Doubles over, sneezing hard enough to scatter dust across the floor. She looks back at you, wiping at her watery eyes.
Beg your pardon for going on so. I got carried away and...
Stops, blinking.
What was that I said? About hammers and fires and...
I may as well be honest. You're so guard captain of Durin's battery.
You must be joking. How could that happen?
I awakened you. I need information about the battery.
I can't be awakened. That means...
Takes a step back, covering her mouth with her hands.
Andres Tides, I'm stuck with him.
Unfortunately. Her body goes rigid, every muscle tensing. She stands there, frozen in shock until a sly look warms her eyes. The thought creeps down her shoulders and torso until at last she speaks again, her voice as smooth as oil.
It's not all bad, Owynna. Way I see it, you and me can make some deals. To our mutual benefit.
She cranes her neck, taking in the dark room.
Deals? What do you want from me? For you, not from you. I'm thinking it's time we got a raise.
Whoa!
I don't know about that. Halfrick's a bit of a miser, he is.
Owynna's anxious frown replaces Gregor's confident smirk.
Don't you worry about Halfrick. I've got something else in mind.
Owynna falls into a look of deep contemplation, and she and Gregor continue in silent converse. Now that's pretty funny. I'm quite glad I went for that one rather than the other person.